Assalamualaikum. Greetings, judges and viewers. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused a major shift in paradigms across multiple disciplines. In order to prevent the spread of the virus, governments around the world resort to quarantine. This effectively limits people's movement and activities and calls for changes in the way we live in order to adapt to current situations. With the release of Surat Edaran Menteri Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan Nomor 420 on 24 March 2020, all forms of educational activity are to be conducted from a distance. This policy of moving the learning environment from schools to students' home helped assure students' safety and hence the name School from Home. Yet, School from Home implementation has been shown to not have gone smoothly in Indonesia. Literature reviews by Gusti et al. And Purwanto et al. Reported multiple factors hindering School from Home implementation among students. Meanwhile, pandemics are not merely proclaimed to develop physical sufferings, but also bring about psychological burden. A study conducted by Pearson has shown that 88% of American students experience stress during School from Home. In Indonesia, a study by Harhab et al. Also showed that most university students in Indonesia had moderate level of stress during the pandemic. Multiple studies has proved that stress affects negatively to students. A study by Pascoe showed that stress negatively affects students' learning ability, academic performance, and more. Yet, the studies mentioned before did not manage to identify the factors of stress affecting stresses. Furthermore, there has been little research on stress levels among high school students in Indonesia during the pandemic. Therefore, the need to identify stress factors in order to mitigate and design a school-from-home system that minimizes student stress has been more important than ever. Students that are now confined at home not only need a system that accommodates their studies, but their mental health too. This urges the need to answer what is the level of stress among students during school from home. What are the stress factors influencing students' level of stress? This is where I, Adi Wira Pratama, as the research, and Ardi Febriansyah as my supervisor from SMAN Kota Tangerang Selatan conducted a study titled Identification of Stress Factors Among SMAN Kota Tangerang Selatan Students During School from Home in order to answer those questions. Multiple studies have successfully identified stress factors among different populations and various methods. This study in particular uses mixed methodology and assumes the transactional theory of stress developed by Lazarus, and limits the interactions only between students and teachers. A sequential explanatory approach was used in this research, meaning quantitative data were gathered and analyzed first before the qualitative data. Quantitative data were acquired through a questionnaire constructed from the Students' Life Stress Inventory Questionnaire proposed by Gazella in 1994. Items were rated on a 5-point Likert scale ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Demographic data such as gender and age were also gathered. After quantitative data analysis were done, qualitative data were then acquired through a series of interviews conducted on students and teachers. The population research were students from SMAN Kota Tangerang Selatan. More than 15% of the total populations were sampled using the questionnaire made from Google Forms and distributed through line groups. Various statistical tests ranging from validity and reliability tests to non-parametric tests were then conducted using SPSS and MS Excel to quantitative data, while textual analysis were done for qualitative data. Results showed that the instrument used in this research was valid and reliable. This is indicated by the Pearson correlation value being above the critical value and Cronbach alpha being above 0.6. Quantitative data gathering ended with 309 students responding to the questionnaire. Most of the respondents were female, and most were at age 15. There are more math and science students because there are more math and science classes than social sciences in SMAN Kota Tangerang Selatan. And there seems to be equal portion of respondents from grade 10, 11, and 12. Descriptive statistics of the questionnaire showed that students were in a state of very high stress, with the subscale building the stress at a range of high and very high. Due to the data not assuming a normality, Mann-Whitney and Kruskal-Wallis non-parametric tests were then conducted in order to identify significant difference in stress levels among groups. A finding is said to be significant if the assumed sig is below 0.05 and vice versa. The results showed that there is no significant difference among students different in gender, major, extracurricular activities, view on school from home, age, and grade. Yet, there was a significant difference between students different in need for tuition and perceived stress. It was then discovered that students who feel the need for tuition experience more stress than those who didn't. And students who perceived experiencing higher stress regardless of their true condition experience more stress than those who perceived having lower stress level. If you are confused by that, the key word here is perceived, meaning it is what the respondents think, not actually what they experience in reality. Using the information gathered from the qualitative data were then gathered by interviewing 12 students as main informants and 3 teachers as key informants. From the interviews, students showed mixed opinions towards school-from-home implementation in SMAN Kota Tangerang Selatan, with teachers having a more positive opinion. The first factor identified in this study were from school assignments. Assignments were shown to affect student stress through frustrations, conflict, and pressure. When asked about this, key informants mentioned that assignments are a part of learning. Therefore, any objection about assignments should be communicated to their corresponding teacher. The second factor was academic achievement that affects stress through self-implied stress and pressures. According to a key informant, students should not worry too much about their grades because grades are given through various evaluations. Third, difference in teaching methods among teachers affects student stress through frustration. Reports from key informants indicate that there were a lot of factors that comes to play in creating difference in teaching methods. Fourth, changes in routine affect students by causing frustrations. Key informants then stated that changes are to be expected during these times. Everyone should adapt to it. Fifth, lack of interactions also seems to affect stress by causing frustrations. When asked about this, key informants affirmed that it was the case, but that doesn't mean that there are no ways of overcoming it. The last factor were technical problems. Same as before, technical problems affect students through frustrations. In regards to this, key informants responded by saying that SMAN Kota Tangerang Selatan are willing to facilitate those who are in need. Earlier, students who need tuition were proven quantitatively to have higher stress. But why? The possible answer is that students find the replacement of school from tuition. They get to understand materials better and interact with other people. Therefore, students who are already experiencing high stress felt the need to enroll in tuition institution, thus explaining the difference. The high level of validity and reliability score means that SLSI are still able to be used, although it is old. This also meant that the translation of the SLSI from the English language to Bahasa Indonesia was successful. From the quantitative analysis, it was discovered that in a school-from-home setting, there is no difference of stress between groups different in gender, major, extracurricular activities, beyond school-from-home, age, and grade. It was also apparent that there was a discrepancy on teachers' point of view and those of students. This could indicate a sign of bad management and communications. This meant that further improvement on communication line between student and teacher are important. Assignments are identified to be stressor factors. Therefore, this should be managed carefully. Yes, assignments are a part of learning, but that doesn't mean that it should not be managed. Although we cannot remove stress from assignments, but at least we can try to control it. Teaching methods were also found to be one of the stress factors influencing stress. Yet, methods in solving this problem are hard to come up to, because not all teachers have the same competence in using IT in delivering learning activity. Therefore, communications between students and their teacher are again recommended. It was also shown that factors not directly related to education also affect students. This includes lack of interaction and changes in routine. Students were also found to be using coping methods that are bad in the short run. This explains the high level of self-implied stress shown in the quantitative data analysis. Judging from the founding of the importance of tuition, the school can use the tuition learning method as a model in order to increase teaching quality. This study managed to offer new perspectives on education during the pandemic. This research concludes that SMAN Kota Tangerang Selatan students' stress level are at a very high level, with its subscales at high or very high level. Second, it was identified that assignments, academic achievement, teaching method, changes in routine, lack of interaction, and technical problems were factors affecting students' stress during school from home. For further studies, the researcher of these studies recommend that, first, research such as this should be approached longitudinally. Second, similar studies should be done in a larger scale. Third, factors identified in this study should be verified and researched quantitatively. Fourth, it is wise to not only identify stress factors of students, but parents and teachers too. Lastly, parents should be included as key informants in further studies. That is all. I thank you all for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.